Greetings everyone, it's Anna. I hope you're all doing well. Today I am just going to talk. I was going to film this video about rereading books, but I was getting ready to film, I'm doing my makeup, and I just kind of felt like just talking. So it's going to be quite a casual video today. I'm just going to do my makeup. It's going to herald back to the days when I used to do the beauty videos. But I didn't really feel like the video, like whilst I was thinking about it, I didn't feel like the video warranted like a full video. I just wanted to just discuss. The eyebrows already did. They're a bit struggle at the moment because I haven't plucked them since lockdown began, and I'm not really going to because I've barely got any natural eyebrows anyway. So we're doing what we can at the moment. So like I said, I'm going to be discussing rereading books. It's something that I'm really big on, and I also think it's quite important to do. It's a hill I will die on. Well, maybe not die on, but it's a hill that I would lie down and sleep on. I think it's really important to reread books, and I think this was kind of sparked by my reread of the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, which I'm loving. I really am loving. And because the reason why I hadn't reread that book is because, well, I read it last year. I think around this time last year, actually, I initially read it and I loved it. But I felt like, when I finished reading it, I needed a break from it because it's very heavy. The topics in there really do, it kicks you in the gut, basically. So you do kind of need to sit down and let things sort of gestate and, marinate. And so I didn't go back to finish reading the whole series. And now I feel ready to. I'm excited to get back, stuck in. I'm almost halfway through, and I knew that it was a book, because it's a book full of twists and turns, I knew that I needed to go back at some point and reread the story and see what Jemisin was the story she was trying to weave in there. And going back and rereading it, I am getting so much from this book. But what I was saying was that after rereading the book, or halfway through, there's so much that I picked up on that I didn't really see the first time I read it, and I wouldn't have gotten that information or gotten these clues or noticed these things if I just carried on reading through the series. And it's funny because a lot of the time I know that I'm not privy to what everybody's doing or how everybody's reading, but I don't hear it talked often enough about rereading. I'm a big rereader, and I think I've probably mentioned it a few times that a lot of the books on my shelf, I don't tend to buy physical books very often. I do have a haul video that I am about to film though, because lockdown really had me itching to spend some money. I don't hear people often talk about rereading books, and I think it's such a missed opportunity to do so, because like I said, you get a lot from rereading and things you missed out, especially when you read books that you loved a lot, or you were really enjoying, or you were just speeding through because you were really engrossed in the story. You tend to miss a lot when you're not consciously, when you don't know what's going on in the story, you just read on. But once you know what's gone on and you've gone back and you're back in the world, you notice a lot more. But then conversely to that, we grow, we change, especially as readers, and especially our interests and stuff that we like. Because I know for sure that there's certain things that I liked in books that I don't like anymore. Like, I'm not really all that into YA. YA isn't, I can't honestly remember the last time a YA book was a 5-star read for me. And so there are certain books that I go back and read knowing that it's not my thing. It's funny because I've been going back and rereading books that were at some point big favourites of mine. I ran out of foundation like weeks ago and I haven't repurchased it, so this is a bit janky, but we do what we can, okay? But yeah, I've been rereading books that were huge favourites of mine when I was a little bit younger, and a lot of them I'm not really feeling. I don't like them as much. Like, I reread what was that book? The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And I remember when I first read it, I was screaming to everybody like, this book is so amazing, everybody must read it. It's just so deep, it's so amazing, like you've got to do it, it's so good. Then a few years later I ended up rereading The Alchemist, and it dropped from what was a 5-star read for me many years ago to being something along like the lines of like a 2-star or 1-star. Like, I thought it was really terrible. And so I think that is a little bit of the fear, that when you go back and reread these books that you loved, they're just going to end up losing the magic that they had before. I mean, some books, like for me, there are some books that I kind of know that I'm still going to really like and enjoy. And there are some books that I'm not really sure about because it was so long that I read them. Like, I've mentioned The Alchemist, but I think it was last year, either it was the beginning of this year or it was last year, that I reread the first His Dark Materials book. I think it was, I can't remember what it was called. Northern Lights. So I'd reread Northern Lights, I think earlier this year, I'm pretty sure. And whilst I think it was still a really good book, I really enjoyed it, I still think the writing is fantastic. It kind of lost the magic that it had for me when I had initially read the book. And so whilst this is what I was saying at the beginning, that it's not a hill, rereading isn't a hill that I would die on per se, but I still do think, even with that being the case, I still do think it's important to reread books as our taste change, and as readers we mature and we get better at spotting themes and spotting things within the books that we read. I'm also thinking about it from the perspective of someone who does reviews as well, because I don't know if there's a book that I absolutely loved, how I can then come and recommend it to you, or recommend it to you now, if it's not a book that I would enjoy reading at this point in my life now as well. So I guess it also comes from perhaps a due diligence. Well, now I'm thinking about it as like a reviewer, but I guess it also comes from a due diligence sort of standpoint, which probably sounds a bit heavy, but I think it's important, because if people are going to watch my videos, and if you're going to buy books based on an opinion that I have on something, I want to make sure that it's something that I perhaps still like or approve of or would like myself. Like, how can I recommend something to you now in this day and age if it's not something that I would personally read myself? It don't make no sense, mate. I've always been a really big rereader. It's like a call. There are books that I would read time and time again, like for example The Hunger Games. I pretty much read that annually. I actually started A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I think I got into like the 3rd chapter, and okay, I still haven't finished it because I don't know if I'm all that impressed. Like, I'm not gonna lie, but I digress on that. Things I know are bad, like The Selection. I talk about this one all of the time. I've mentioned it a lot, that it's a book that I have reread quite a few times, because there's comfort in terrible. There's comfort in going back into worlds that you know are bad, but you just enjoy being there. And I'm under no illusions that that's a good series at all to read. I know it's terrible, but I like going back into that world and enjoying it. But then there are ones that you might reread just out of nostalgia and wanting to perhaps remember the world that you were previously in before, because you remember it being good, but you're not sure if it's the same feeling. And then there are the books that you go back into just because of the nostalgia of it, because you remember you really liked it and you want to see if you still feel the same, and then you go back into it and then you don't. I really want to reread, is it the name, not The Name of the Wind? Oh my gosh, what is that? Oh, what is the name of this book? The author recently passed away. Shadow of the Wind. When I read that, because it was on my TBR for a long time, and I read it many years ago, and I was very excited to read that book and getting there, loved it, but I don't know if it's a book that I would still feel the same about if I read it again today. So are you the kind of person who wants to preserve the nostalgia and the feelings that you had about a book, or are you someone who doesn't really care and you feel it's important to go back and relive those stories and see if you would still actually feel the same about it? Like, I would want to hear that. Those were kind of my thoughts on rereading books. Like I said, it's something that I'm really into and something I think is important to do, but would love to hear what you all think about it. So do you like to reread? What's the last book you reread? And if you don't reread, let me know why and we can have a discussion below. So I hope you guys enjoy that impromptu, informal video. It's not something I've done in quite some time, but I kind of enjoyed doing it because it was just kind of chill, you know. If you did enjoy that, then please feel free to show the like button some love, and for more of my bookish content, then you are more than welcome to subscribe for more videos, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye.